Video, I'm going to use an analogy to logically explain why no one gives a fuck about what you do. Caring about what other people think of you is pointless and a complete waste of time. And trying to keep up a self-image for the rest of the world is only going to lead to more suffering. So if you deal with any of this stuff, make sure you stick around to the end. So let's say the entire world exists on a beach, and everyone's self-image is a sandcastle. So when we're little kids, we're not really worried about building up any sort of identity, so we're just playing on the beach. But as we grow up, as we become a teenager or young adult, we see everyone else building sandcastles. Now, some people are very proud of their sandcastles, some people are depressed by their sandcastle, but everyone, for the most part, is building something and really struggling to maintain it. So there comes a day when you stop playing at the beach and you start building your sandcastles. You're like, shit, everyone else is doing it, I guess I should too. So you start building it, and at first it's a little bit of fun, but that doesn't last very long. Eventually it just becomes a struggle. You also find it fascinating that everyone else who has built their sandcastle, or their self-identity, isn't super happy. Because for the most part, by the time they're 25, 30, 35, they're done building it. And now they're just trying to maintain it. And everyone's walking around judging each other's sandcastle. Sometimes people even go up to other people's sandcastles and kick them. So they have to fight them and defend their sandcastle. And sometimes it's not even people, it's just shit totally out of your control. The tide gets high and some of your sandcastle gets washed away. So eventually, you start seeing things a little bit more clearly. You see that occasionally people judge other people's sandcastles, but it's always in comparison to their own. Because they think that all of their value and worth stems from what their sandcastle looks like relative to everyone else's. And sometimes when theirs gets kicked down a bit, instead of trying to build it back up, because that can be tough, they just go kick down someone else's to make themselves feel better, because they need to. And the one thing that very few people recognize is that they don't have to defend their sandcastle. They can just leave it be, allow people to do whatever they want with it, and just go back to playing at the beach like they did when they were a kid. Because they recognize that they are not this identity, they are not this self-image. They're that which can recognize the futility in needing to cling to an identity in order to feel better about themselves and derive some sense of self-worth. Just go back to playing at the beach and enjoying the beach like they did when they were a kid. If you're interested in living a life of freedom beyond the confines of identity and belief, make sure you check out my podcast, Dualistic Unity.